Nowadays, very few humans are reborn on Earth. They often consider this their final life, perhaps because they retain no memories of their past lives. However, through dozens of reincarnations, we are gradually breaking free from the endless cycle of birth and death. Perhaps that is why some people in this world have decided to return, continuing another cycle of reincarnation. And if we can make that a reality by the end of this century, it would be wonderful. Sasquara is a term in Javanese culture and beliefs in Indonesia, referring to sacred rituals or ceremonies. Sasquara ceremonies are often held to mark important milestones in a person's life, such as birth ceremonies, coming-of-age rituals, weddings, and funerals. Each ritual contains profound philosophical values, aiming to purify the soul, balance the relationship between humans and the universe, and pray for peace and prosperity. Through these rituals, the Javanese community not only preserves its unique culture but also expresses reverence for deities and ancestors. Saswara, the origin of Ikub civilization, is believed to be the first pyramid built in Ikub using only the power of thought. Since its creation, it has been adorned with magnificent white stones. In fact, this entire city spans miles, including towers and architectural complexes deep underground. However, the Lihirid Chahan pyramids shattered the belief that Saswara was the cradle of Ikub civilization. This pyramid is at least 500 years older than Saswara. If this is true, then the time when the Ikub appeared on Earth coincides with the peak of the Sumeru civilization. But such stepped pyramids are actually quite common and are collectively called mastabas. The ancient Egyptians built all these pyramids about 6,000 years ago and established military bases and massive drainage systems around them. At some points, there are even guards equipped with machine guns. If you try to approach these pyramids, your life may be at risk. They do not want anyone to know about them, let alone conduct research on them. Even if you try to talk to an Ikub about these pyramids, or when you want to examine them more closely, they only give vague answers to dismiss the topic. The ancients used their own symbols to represent the three aspects of consciousness that help us experience life on Earth. You can encounter similar symbols all over the world, but this description only refers to an underground creature, symbolizing the microbial world. A person walking on the ground represents the intermediate level, just like us humans. And one flying in the air represents the giant creatures. Similar symbols like this will appear everywhere. In Ikub, on the left side you will see a canal. In the center is the right eye of the god Horus, and on the right is a cobra. In Peru, these are the three national symbols: the condor, the jaguar, and the rattlesnake. For Native Americans, it is the eagle, the messenger of the mountains, and the rattlesnake. In Tibet, the corresponding symbols are the rooster, the pig, and the snake. The tools and symbols used by the Ikub to represent reincarnation include a staff about 4 feet long, approximately 1.2 meters, with a small tuning fork attached to one end and the other end cut at a 45-degree angle. This tool is used on the back, specifically for affecting the body. An oval shape, often red-orange, symbolizing transformation. This occurs when we are reborn or when we achieve ascension, when we change the shape and chemical nature of the body. Additionally, the Ikub possess generators, which they occasionally use to increase power. And finally, we must mention Ikub, the key tool that helps us fully understand this process. Death, rebirth, and ascension to heaven. In a photo taken by O.C. Rich, the man is holding a staff in his hand. A staff tilted at a 45-degree angle, with a tuning fork attached to the top and accompanied by a mallet for striking. Below are the three main tools used for the rebirth process. The first thing to mention is death, a process where you enter the underworld state immediately after death. You will fall into an unconscious state and completely fail to perceive the process of the soul separating from the body, and cannot control those illusions at all. Such a death will take your soul to the third underworld layer of the fourth dimension. It will bring you back to earthly life once again. That is a rebirth. Because you are in the unconscious state of this cycle, you cannot use Mokaba. Therefore, once you cross over to the other world, humans no longer retain any memories of the earthly realm. And when you are reborn, return to Earth once again, you have absolutely no memory of the place you just came from. Thus, the cycle of reincarnation continues endlessly. However, a great energy is slowly shifting. In the end, you will overcome it. But this is an extremely slow process. Until you become aware and understand Mokaba, you will return to your body and undergo a journey that takes you to the 10th, 11th, or 12th level of the 4th dimension. From there, you will escape the cycle of reincarnation. Your memory will never be limited again, and you will enter eternal life. Between death and rebirth, there exists a truly distinct boundary. But there is a greater difference in the path of ascension. Currently, we are fully capable of achieving this. Since the completion of this power grid in 1989, when ascending to heaven, you will not experience death. No death occurs at all. The disc realizes the truth that you no longer exist in this world. And from that perspective, you are dead. But the truth is, you are merely perceiving your Mokaba from a different angle. Either you remember on your own, someone tells you, or it naturally appears as a matter of course. This means you have become aware that your body is light. From there, you can actively and consciously pass through Hivo to higher dimensions. Becoming aware of all time. In this way, you can leave life gently, without going through a painful dying process. You no longer need to recreate your body. When a person reaches enlightenment, they simply disappear from this three-dimensional space and return to live in the next dimension by passing through Hivo. You may not need to undergo ascension at all. You can truly die or be reborn again. Life game, it doesn't. Because if you die naturally, your soul will reincarnate into the third hell level. And also pass through Hivo, but only momentarily. Afterward, when the earthly remains of Choki begin to decompose, all those on that third sphere will also be elevated to the same spatial level. Just like those who have been reborn or reached enlightenment. Even the Bible mentions this. The Bible records that when that time comes, the dead will be resurrected. There is no such thing as death. It is merely different states of reality. It has properties similar to water. That substance can exist in liquid, solid, or gaseous form. But regardless, in essence, it is still water. The first immortal, as mentioned many times before. During the Atlantean era, there existed a mysterious school called Nakan. Rai and Tia led a team of 1,000 members, all from Lemuria. They were striving to teach the Atlanteans the secret of immortality. However, more importantly, at that time, they themselves may not have been truly excellent teachers. Or perhaps people were unable to comprehend it. Because this process requires a period of 20,000 to 30,000 years before anyone could reach the state of immortality. That first king was named Osiris. He was not Egyptian, but rather an Atlantean. The story of Osiris actually does not originate from ancient Egyptian times. Although its content speaks of eternal life, most of us have probably heard this story before. However, we will briefly summarize it as follows. The story goes that the family had 4 children, 2 sons and 2 daughters, living together in a family named Isis. Isis, Osiris, Nephthys, and Seth are 4 important deities in ancient Egyptian mythology. Isis married Osiris, while Nephthys married Seth. By the time the story begins, Seth had already killed Osiris. Then, he placed Osiris' body in a box and set it adrift on the Nile River. This murder troubled Isis deeply. But she and her sister Nephthys decided to set out to find Osiris. They found his body, brought it back, and intended to hold a funeral for Osiris, returning to the rhythm of everyday life. Upon discovering this, Seth chopped Osiris' body into 14 pieces and scattered them across the world so the sisters could not resurrect Osiris. Isis and Nephthys then set out to find those fragments to resurrect Osiris by reassembling his body parts. They found 13 of the 14 pieces and assembled them together. However, they could not find the penis, which was the 14th body part. And thanks to Thoth and his magic, the 14th piece was restored. This reinitiated the flow of creativity. Osiris was not only resurrected but also granted immortality. According to ancient Egyptian belief, sexual energy was the key element enabling humans to achieve immortality. That is the energy source my father awakened since the time of Lemuria. However, note that initially, Osiris was still a living deity. Movement for a body at the first level of consciousness. Then, he was killed and his body was chopped into pieces. He became completely detached from his true self. This is the second level of consciousness, which is our level. Then, the pieces were reassembled, and he was restored to his original wholeness. Osiris entered the third level of consciousness, achieving immortality. Osiris experienced 3 levels of awareness. The first was a complete whole, the second was separated from itself. And at the third level, all parts were reconnected into a unified whole. This enabled Osiris to be fully resurrected, simultaneously becoming the world's first rebirth guide in Atlantis. Therefore, they applied the understanding of how Osiris achieved immortality as a template for others to achieve a similar state of consciousness. Later, this became the belief of the Atlanteans, and then the religion for those who needed it. The Atlanteans possessed perfect memory due to the unique functioning of their brains. They remembered every detail, every event that occurred in their lives. And their memory was inheritable, meaning anything that one person could remember in their memory, others of the same race were also capable of remembering it. Indigenous Australians still preserve and practice this special method of memory. When an Indigenous person encounters anything, any native can re-experience it anytime they wish. If an Indigenous person were to enter this room now, they would certainly pass on those experiences truthfully. For all members of our race, no matter where they live on this planet, even if they are only at the first level of awareness, they are still an inseparable part of that very entity. We are in an internal battle, yet separated from our own essence. Like the Atlanteans, these indigenous people do not have vague consciousness like us. They possess a complete memory with 3 themes. They can recreate this room instantly with just a panoramic glance. And the others can walk around this area to observe. They can approach your desk, look you straight in the eye, and talk. This is not a real moment, but just a fleeting instant in a dream. Like a dream, yet a perfect replica of reality. Their memory is so perfect, without any errors or deficiencies. Of course, the Atlanteans had no reason to fabricate or alter the truth of past events. Because, to them, trying to describe something with words is unnecessary. Everyone can experience reality directly. Even after the collapse, the Egyptians and other peoples still possessed an astonishing memory ability. At that time, their system had completely lost 3D visual data and forward memory. But in my mind, those images are still stored. When students of the mysterious school practice an extremely complex method, they can perform all calculations right in their heads. We have less efficient working memory. Cannot do this the way they did. Even remembering someone's name can sometimes be a real struggle. The difficulty of the game increases with each level. We have great difficulty remembering from one picture to the next. But the ancients were fully capable of doing this in their heads. The above experience is the key to understanding the true nature of creation. Recreate the images authentically, as if you were truly floating in space and moving through geometric shapes. This experience helps you understand that the circles on the page represent actual movements. And the geometric impulses of the human soul are not the starting or ending points of creation. However, what if not just a few, but all of us could defy destiny? And fully possess the 3D memory of the Atlanteans? Could we become immortal or be upgraded to a higher level of consciousness? Please share some of your thoughts in the comments below the video right after watching. Thank you, teacher. I will conclude my presentation here for now. I bid farewell and wish everyone a very good day. See you again on a new day full of joy and wonderful things.